Greetings. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks, Sr., your host, and this is Community Focus. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're very fortunate to have with us the Honorable Lake County State's Attorney Mike Nerheim from the Lake County State's Attorney's Office. And he volunteered to come with us, to be with us, to talk about, give us an update on what goes on in the State's Attorney's Office. Good morning, Attorney Nerheim.
Good morning, Dr. Brooks. Thanks for having me back. It's always a pleasure to be on your show.
Well, Lake County is an honor to have you here. You know, Lake County, as you know, it's approximately 850,000 people, but I don't know how many up this 5 o'clock this Sunday morning listen to the program, but I understand we have a pretty good audience. I want to thank, before I forget it, Cynthia Vargas, yes. Yeah, she's the one. She's the the marketing.
She's our communications manager.
So thank you, Cynthia, for arranging for this program. I'd like to reflect just a second here. I started in having contact with the State's Attorney's Office when State's Attorney Dennis Ryan. Ryan was the state's attorney, and following him was Fred Foreman, and then Michael Waller, and now you have taken over since, about 2012?
Exactly, 2012.
And I appreciate the fact that each one of the state's attorneys allowed me, as a matter of fact, they invited me, they welcomed me to come to the office, and of course we talked about diversity that's my favorite topic then, because I was president of the NAACP at that time. But first of all, I'd like for you to tell us the mission of the State's Attorney's Office.
Well, our mission is really simple. It's 2 words. It's to seek justice.
Okay.
And, we have a mission statement, and all that stuff is on our website. But really, in order to keep things as simple as possible and make sure that we're all on the same page in our office, our mission is it's simple in terms of it's just 2 words, but in practice, it's a little bit more complex because the whole notion of justice means a lot of different things to different people. And again, depending on the circumstances of the case, and we encourage everyone in our office to make sure that every decision they make on a daily basis when they're handling cases that we're prosecuting or representing the people of Lake County, and that first and foremost, justice is at the top of that list in terms of what's guiding them to make their decision. Because contrary to what some people may feel or have experienced in the past, either in Lake County or other counties, the job of a prosecutor is not simply to convict people or to put people in jail. Putting people in jail is really a last resort. What we want to do is make sure that we're, again, keeping justice as mine. And sometimes justice is in an extreme case, and we do see some awful things that happen to people here in Lake County. So sometimes justice is trying to seek a prison sentence for as long as possible. But sometimes justice is not charging a case in the first place, or putting somebody into a diversion program, or offering somebody an opportunity at probation, or a lot of different available outcomes to people depending on the circumstances of the case.
Yes, you have several options, I guess. Is you mentioned that your job is not just to prosecute and send people to prison, right? You have other options that they have. You have a way out. You mentioned is one of the programs that you have. You want to tell us about that?
Sure. So we have a lot of great programs that we put together in our office for people that have gotten arrested. And what we've understood is the vast majority of people that come into contact with the criminal justice system have either a mental health issue or a substance abuse addiction, or a combination of both. And what we're trying to do is, first of all, understand that, but secondly, make sure we're addressing those issues rather than just simply incarcerating people. So we have wonderful programs that are built for people that have contact with the criminal justice system, largely because of some sort of addiction or mental illness. So we have drug court, veterans court, our mental health court program. We also have first offender diversion program called Alternative Prosecution Program, which is a diversion program for people with both felonies and misdemeanors that allows them the opportunity to avoid a conviction on their record. We have a new program that we've worked with the courts and probation on developing that's specific to opiate use, and that's a diversion program. So there are lots of wonderful programs that are available to people, but what's consistent with all of the programs I just mentioned is you have to get arrested in order to get access to help. And what we're trying to do is come up with ways to help people before they get arrested. And so the Way Out program is something that the Opioid Initiative developed through the leadership of the Lake County Opioid Initiative. And the quarterback of that program, the specific program, A Way Out, is Chief Gunther from Mundelein Police Department, who's just a great person and has been a huge part of the Opioid Initiative. And that program was developed with the understanding that people that struggle with addiction, regardless of the type of addiction, so alcohol, whether it's cocaine or meth or heroin or pills, regardless of the type of substance abuse addiction, those people have windows where they decide on their own that they don't want to live that life anymore. The addictions are incredibly powerful, and that drives, unfortunately, them oftentimes to do things that they wouldn't normally do, like break the law or things like that. But it recognizes that people want help. They want out of their addiction, but oftentimes they don't know where to go. They don't know what resources are available. So the way the Way Out works, it's pretty simple, is anybody at any time from anywhere, regardless of their situation in life, can walk into a police station in Lake County, and we have 11 entry points right now. And again, you can be from any community, even outside of Lake County, and walk into one of those police stations, and they're all available on our website. And just simply ask for help. And if they have drugs on their person or paraphernalia, they can turn that over to the police. They will not be arrested as long as they come in voluntarily and turn that over. And the police will then engage a system that will help route those people into treatment. It's a relatively new program. It's the first of its kind in terms of county-wide in the country. It's modeled after a program in the East Coast in Gloucester, Massachusetts, that was the first of these types of programs that I'm aware of, where the police chief there just wanted to help get people into treatment. And he opened his doors, and people came into his police station, and he helped get people into treatment, and he saw crime in his community drop, and people that needed help with their addiction got access to care. So we saw the value in that and wanted to build that here in Lake County. And because of the Lake County Opioid Initiative and all those members, all the law enforcement, all the leaders in Lake County coming together on a monthly basis under that umbrella, we had the infrastructure in place to put that into effect relatively quickly. And interestingly, it's really taken off. We had, I think the last number I saw last week, there's 529 people that have voluntarily walked into a police station and said, hey, I need some help me. And the police are helping those people. And it's a wonderful program because it gets the police thinking about their role differently. They're there to help people, not just arrest them. And it also gets the community thinking about the police differently than perhaps they have in the past. They're there to be a source of help and not just simply somebody that's going to arrest them. And I knew, when we build this, that a lot of this is about building trust and rebuilding some of those bridges that have been broken between some communities and the police. And this is one way of doing that.
Attorney Nerheim, it's amazing the number of people that have taken part in the program. But how do the average person find out about the program?
So there's a lot of different ways, and it's a great point because we recognize early on that the population we're seeking, people that are in the throes of their addiction, perhaps aren't up at 5 a.m. listening to your show, or maybe they're not reading the Chicago Tribune. So we can do normal media that, like this show, like we've done press releases, press conferences. We do a lot on social media to spread the word. But we also recognize that really the best way to get the word out about programs like this is through word of mouth. So we spend a lot of time in the using community and the recovering community talking to people about the program. And really, as people go through and they successfully complete it, it's those people that then go back to their peer groups and say, hey, I did this A Way Out program. It's real. It works. I've gone out and talked to some people that have gone into the program initially and asked them for their feedback about how they heard about it. And a lot of it was word of mouth, but a lot of people even then still thought it was some form of a trap just by the police trying to get them to come in. So what we've seen is as we've built trust and as people have gone through the program and then gone out and told people that, no, this is a real program, it works, the numbers grow. I mean, they've continued to get bigger and bigger and bigger as word gets out. So we try to get word out through a variety of different ways. We have an app on social media, so if you go on the App Store and type in Lake County Help, on the App Store, you'll get access to this app, which has access to the program. And so there's a lot of different ways. We have websites, a lot of media. And again, I appreciate the opportunity to come on this show because it's just one more chance for me to help kind of spread the word about this great program.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, we're talking with Lake County State's Attorney Michael Nerheim. He volunteered to come on the program to promulgate information about the activities and the mission, goals, and objectives, the State's Attorney's Office. And we welcome the opportunity to let you know that this is a friendly office and it's here to represent the fabric of our community in the best way possible. Okay, Attorney Nerheim, this is not a 9-to-5 job, right?
Oh yeah, no, definitely not. My wife would attest to that.
I like to mention that because you have many challenges, every day, and even as far as the late Mary Lacey, I noticed that when she passed away, you were right there at the funeral and expressing, your relationship with Mary Lacey. Mary Lacey had adopted you as her personal attorney.
She was not afraid to call, and I miss her a lot. I love that woman. She was a great lady. She did a lot for our entire community here in Lake County. And but when she needed something, she was not afraid to call, and it didn't matter the time of day or day of the week. And and I'm not alone. She would call a lot of local community leaders, whether it was the chief of police or a congressperson or whomever. But that was the beauty of Dr. Lacey. If she needed something, because at the end of the day, all she was trying to do is help people.
Yeah.
And she didn't waste time. She went right to the source, and she got stuff done.
This is a friendly office too, but tell us why a dog on your team?
Well, we have 3 dogs on staff, and that surprises a lot of people. They wonder, why would a prosecutor have dogs in their office? So, obviously police departments and law enforcement have canines that they use, whether they be drug sniffing dogs, bomb detection dogs, cadaver dogs, dogs that can find missing people. The dogs do so many wonderful things in law enforcement. And one of the other things that dogs do, and anybody that's listening to your show that has a dog at home knows this, they help people just feel better. They help people feel less stressed out. And I understand that not everybody's a dog person, and that's certainly okay. But, if you're having a bad day and you come home from work and you have a family dog, your dog seems to be able to instinctively know that you're having a tough time, and they make you feel better. And there's science behind that I've looked into, and with our work, we see a lot of people that come into the courthouse that are under a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. We deal, unfortunately, with a lot of children that have been the victims of physical abuse or sexual abuse. And when these kids come in to be interviewed by my attorneys or by law enforcement, or even to come in to have to testify in court, it can be terrifying for them to have to do that. So there's a lot we do to try to make that process as easy as possible. But one of the things we do is we have 2 dogs that are on staff. They're part of our office, Mitch and Hitch, and they're here to help really anybody that wants their help. So Mitch is used predominantly at our Children's Advocacy Center, where we handle all the cases involving children. And Hitch is used in the main office, where he goes to, we use him in our specialty courts, so with drug court, veterans court, mental health court. or any of the trials we have. If we have a murder case going on and the victim's family is in our office because of obviously the trial, and they're there, that can be stressful for them. So all dogs are available to everybody. They also help our staff because, as you can imagine, our job can be somewhat stressful, and they see a lot of horrible things every day. So the dogs help our staff members as well. And our third dog is another. So all of our dogs are labs, which is interesting. And our third dog, his name is Browser, and he is what's called an electronic detection dog. He is very rare. There's not a lot of those in the country. And I know Will County has at least one, maybe more than one of these dogs, but I'm not aware of very many other counties in Illinois or even around the country that have dogs like Browser. And what Browser can do is he can sense electronic devices. So he can find cell phones, SD cards from a camera, thumb drives, zip drives, hard drives, anything with a chip in it. If it's hidden, he can find it. So we use Browser a lot in our cyber division with child pornography investigations and things like that, where if somebody has evidence that's hidden on an electronic device, Browser can go in and find those devices. And he's been wonderful in terms of the work that he's done going out in the community and helping law enforcement. He assists all the law enforcement agencies in Lake County and even outside of Lake County. And there's over 40, it might surprise you, there's over 40 police departments in Lake County that my office works with. And he supports every one of them.
Well, one of your dogs was the TV star, because you were a guest on my show, and he was right there with you.
That was Hitch. He was our first dog. And those Mitch and Hitch are donated from a wonderful organization down in St. Louis named Duo. They're a nonprofit organization that donates service dogs to people that are deserving and worthy. And I can't say enough about that organization. They're great. And like I said, they've donated 2 dogs so far to our county, and we're really lucky to have them.
You mentioned about getting the word out about the state's attorney's office, and this is one of the means. But career fairs is another means, getting out in the community to let people know.
We really have tried to be very active in the community since I took over in 2012. And not just me, but it's not uncommon to see either myself or some of my staff at a community event anywhere around Lake County, or at a school event, or really anywhere anybody will have us, because, as I said kind of earlier in response to your first question about our mission and, what drives us. And I think, again, that whole concept of justice doesn't just involve prosecuting people that have broken the law. I look at our job as we represent the people of Lake County, and one function of our job is to make sure that people are treated fairly and to make sure people are safe. And prosecutors historically really didn't get involved in criminal cases until after the crime was committed and after an arrest was made. And that's not how I see our job. I think our job is, certainly we go to court every day and we prosecute crimes that have occurred, but it's just as much a part of our job to get in the community and try to prevent crimes in the first place. So we do community events on any issue you can imagine, like bullying, substance abuse, teen dating violence, elder abuse, financial identity theft, domestic violence, sexual assault, and on and on and on. Human trafficking, all these issues that affect Lake County, that if we can get out there and help spread awareness, hopefully we can prevent some of these things from happening in the first place. And my staff love it. Like I said, it's not just me. We were at an event, a couple events last weekend. We were at something just a couple of days ago at the Woodland Middle School, educating parents about vaping and some of the things that people are seeing with their kids. So we're happy to come out there and talk to folks.
I was looking at the gang activity and the heroin overdose in the county. So Lake County Heroin and Opiate Abuse and Overdose Prevention Initiative that you have doing.
So that's the Lake County Opioid Initiative, and we started that back in 2012 into 2013, right after I came into office, because I knew that this opioid epidemic, whether it's heroin or prescription pills, that was something that was continuing to grow, and of course, it's grown every year since then around the country. It's one of the biggest issues right now facing our entire nation. Over 72,000 Americans died of drug overdose last year alone.
Wow.
And that's a huge number, and the majority of those people that died of drug overdoses, those overdoses were opiate related. So when we talk about opiates, of course, again, heroin, Vicodin, Oxycontin, Norco, synthetic opiates like fentanyl and some of those other drugs, those are here in Lake County, and we lost just under 100 people just here in Lake County this past year due to drug overdose, and the majority of those, just as the national trend has been, are opiate related. So it's been a significant effort on my part and a lot of the partnerships that we've built around Lake County to really combat that epidemic. And we're proud that Lake County has become a model nationally for how you address the issue. And really the secret is in teamwork, in putting together a coalition of people from both the public sector and the private sector. So we have lawmakers, we have law enforcement, we have community organizations, faith-based organizations, treatment providers, businesses, just regular people that want to help out, parents that have lost children, siblings that have lost brothers and sisters to overdose. There's so many people that have been affected by this, but the neat thing is to see all those folks come together and volunteer their time to combat this. And we've had some success here. Unfortunately, in spite of a lot of our efforts, our numbers upticked just a little bit between 2017 and 2018, which is a concern. And we have to make sure that we're doubling down our effort and really doing everything we can do to address that.
State's Attorney Nerheim, you mentioned you've been in office since 2012, and a couple of other programs that you're proud of, and I'm sure that you love to talk about. We don't have the time to go into it in a lot of detail, but the show that your effort, the first Citizens Panel Review Board, and also a case review panel, that you've had since you've been in.
Yeah, those are both two programs that, again, have become models nationally. I get invited to speak around the country on some of these things, but it's something that we're very proud of. And really it's about engaging the community and making sure that the community they're involved in what we do, that they have a legitimate voice in our day-to-day operations. And that hasn't historically been the case with prosecutors' offices around the country. So I have a group of community leaders from all over Lake County that meet with me regularly, that bring issues to me and make sure that people that they represent, that their voices are heard, that they literally have a seat in my office. It's a great two-way street because it allows me to get perspective on issues that I might not otherwise have, and it also allows people, again, the opportunity to have that voice. And then our case review panel is something that was created here in Lake County that was really the aim was to address, and continues to be, to address the issue of wrongful convictions, both to ensure that if there have been cases in the past where somebody's been convicted of something they didn't do, that obviously as prosecutors we're doing everything we can do to identify those cases and then free those people. And in addition to the work that's been done to look backwards and identify cases where that has happened, another part of this is looking forward and making sure that we're learning from our mistakes, that when those cases have happened, and some of them have been 20 plus years ago, but they're still my responsibility. Those are cases we have to make sure that we're learning from what happened and implementing procedures so we don't do that anymore. So that doesn't happen, because our whole system, the criminal justice system, is set up, as we've all been taught since we were children, that it's far better to let 100 guilty people free than convict one innocent person. And really that's the cornerstone behind everything that we do. And yet that has happened. Innocent people have been convicted in Lake County and in other counties around the country. And that just can't happen for a lot of reasons. Obviously, it's horrible to think about somebody going to jail for something that they didn't do. And in addition to that, when you convict the wrong person, that the real person escaped justice. And these cases are costly. They cost the taxpayers a lot of money. So there's a lot of reasons, obvious reasons, why we have to make sure that's being addressed.
We have a couple of cases that we read in a paper where two people were freed because of DNA testing.
Right. DNA is something that continues to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
That's science, and that's why it's important as prosecutors, when somebody requests to have DNA retested in an old case,
Mm-hmm.
we have to agree to that. I mean, we can't be afraid of what that might show us because the science has changed, and we can obtain DNA on evidence today that we couldn't have just a few years ago. I mean, we have touch DNA, for example, now that we didn't have not that long ago. So it's important to be open to going back and looking at those cases. And again, as I started this conversation about that concept of seeking justice,
Mm-hmm.
well, for prosecutors, that shouldn't end once we obtain a conviction after a trial. If 10, 15, 20 years later we find out that we were wrong, we need to be the ones that discover that and that act on that. It shouldn't be something that we're being led reluctantly to find. So DNA is something that is important, and we have a standing policy in my office that if there's a request for DNA, we're not only going to agree to it, but we'll assist the defense in obtaining the order. And that's important because that's led to at least one of the exonerations that I've had.
Mm-hmm. The one program we watch on television, I think it's the final word or the last word, at night, but you have the last word. There's no appeal after you make your decision.
Well, that would be really nice. But look, I just want to say that I'm honored again to be on your show, and any opportunity I have to talk with you and in turn talk to your audience and the community that I serve, I'm going to take it. So I anytime you're willing to have me on, I'm always happy to come. I'm proud of our office. I'm proud of the men and women that work in the state's attorney's office. But we're not perfect, and I think we've done a lot to improve our office to make it one of the best prosecutors' offices in the country.
Mm-hmm.
But we're not going to rest on that. We're going to continue to improve. And if there's ideas or thoughts that the community has or questions that people have, come in and let us know.
I can't let you go without talking about diversity. You know that was coming.
I knew that was coming. I had a feeling, and I appreciate the fact that we talk about. In fact, I think back in 2011 when I first met you, that was one of the first questions you asked me. So, the office that I took over, when you look at the demographics of that office, it did not necessarily match the demographics of Lake County, and that's the reality of the situation that I had. And it's important to me, and I know it's important to you, that the office represents Lake County, because we represent the people of Lake County, and we need to be, the makeup of my office needs to be reflective of that in every imaginable way. So one of the things that we've really tried to do is increase diversity in both the attorney and non-attorney staff members in our office. And early on, and I expressed frustration to you, if I had an opening and I would have 50 applicants, for example, for a prosecutor position, I wouldn't have maybe more than one, if any, applicants that were minority applicants. And I remember having this conversation, Dr. Brooks, I'm not getting minority applicants, so it's hard to hire that in that group. And what I recognized and you shared with me is that you can't just sit back and say, well, I'm not getting applicants. What I have to do is be more aggressive about going out and marketing my office and seeking quality minority applicants, which is what I've done. And so if you look at my hires, the people that I've hired since I've been in office since in 2012, 42% of the attorneys that I hired have been either minorities and women. And when the non-attorney staff, it's about 60% have been minorities and women. So my office is getting a lot better in terms of the demographics of Lake County. We're not there yet, but I think the numbers speak for themselves, that I'm doing the best I can do to get out there and recruit and get quality applicants to come in and apply. And when they do, we hire them.
Ladies and gentlemen, again, we're sorry to end this program. We have a lot of material that we could have covered, but time just won't allow. And I want to mention that State's Attorney Nerheim is a basketball player, too. He's out in the community playing basketball. I didn't know he was there. But we have to end the program. We can talk about the Public Defender's Office and his relationship with the judges and the county board, and we can go on and on and on. But next week we're going to have one of his diversity hires. Was it Reggie Matthews?
Reggie Matthews I did not hire Mr. Matthews, but when I came into office, he was already there, and I promoted him.
Okay.
And made him a supervisor, and he's also a dear friend and just a great guy. So that's going to be a great interview.
Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Community Focus. My name is Dr. Waddell Brooks Sr., your host.